Hello, good people, and welcome to the Amateur Hour. My name's Justin.
My name's Tyler.
And hello, we're back again with another episode. I hope you guys are enjoying all of our episodes that we have uploading for you guys again. For those of you who have been standing by this year and being with us, it means the world. By now, you've heard a couple of the episodes and the updates that we had in terms of letting you guys know what has been happening with the season and a lot of the roadblocks essentially that we've kind of run into with this season. It's worth bringing up because we're on the road to better things, and we want to make sure that we're being fairly transparent with certain things, with also keeping relatively, tight to the chest in terms of our personal lives and things like that. So we just like being open. Listen, we're amateurs, and as I always say, we're figuring things out. So I'm happy that
Can I interrupt you right there? Because you just said we're amateurs and we're figuring things out. It was a perfect time to interrupt you because every time I do something like that, where I just end a conversation and I force us straight into recording, it's always the better sounding what do you call it, like opening whatever.
yeah.
It always works better. That was just so smooth for the last 20 seconds. I just had to embrace
What?
that amateur moment right there.
He's so
Very. What's gone?
it was so
Oh,
smooth
like,
that
wait, what?
he had to let his amateur inner being come out. That's what he's trying
Yeah,
to
it was
say,
almost
Austin.
too good for the amateur hour.
You say it.
So
I'm sorry, there has to be a little bit of humor.
very true, and that's what we are, right? We're the amateur hour. We're getting things going, and there's a reason why, when going through a lot of the ideas of the amateur hour, and even what the amateur hour originally was supposed to be in terms of like even a video game channel, and it's sort of shifting entirely into this podcast and everything. It all fits because the reason I chose the name the amateur hour is simply because, we're starters, we're beginners, we're figuring things out. But this is all stuff that you guys probably already heard in the update. If you guys haven't, feel free to check it out. That episode sort of lightly discusses a lot of the reasons as to why the schedule had some hiccups, right, in terms of the season. Next season, we're coming in hot, we're coming in strong. So we're going to be testing out a lot of new uploads in terms of like upload schedules. So be prepared for that stuff. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. A new
We'll,
year, new
we'll
me, so to
definitely
speak.
give the update ahead of time before we actually launch and let everyone know how it's going to work.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, we're hoping for again better quality, less missed episodes. Just everything good to come of it, and hopefully less bad news for everyone. But all things aside, that's for next season. We don't care about it right this moment. Um, but I it was Austin that was talking about shortages and gas prices, that sort of thing before we started the recording. We just gave it what, an hour and a half of garbage BS amongst the three of us and wasted a whole bunch of time. So let's roll into that. Um, how much did you say the gas was near you, and how much has it gone up?
Um. So for me, it hasn't gone up too crazy yet. I think before all this gas stuff started happening, I think we were like 279, I believe. And last time I filled up with gas, was 339, but I believe just doing a little bit of research, I haven't gotten gas in, it's the beginning of the week. It looks like it might be closer to 359 now. So not as bad as, I know some places that are pretty high, but pretty rough considering the cost of living in Oklahoma is pretty low and we all have low wages. So,
Well, you're
uh,
doing better than we are over here as far as gas consumption goes.
yes, I'm not
I
going to
would say
complain a crazy amount.
well, so far I'm complaining about the gas price just because paying that much sucks. But as far as the cost of living and everything in my area as well, it's pretty low. I mean, taxes are like $1,200 for the whole year. You really can't argue with that.
Mm,
Um, I have a pretty decent wage where I wouldn't say quite paycheck to paycheck. I'm able to put a little bit into savings, but we're also living pretty comfortable too. So, but we're at about, I believe we just filled up the truck and we went up to Michigan to pick something up, but it was 3.99 per gallon. So we might as well just say $4. And it's rumored that we're going to go up another 30 cents possibly soon.
no. Yeah, it's getting bad. I know I have a friend who lives over just outside of Chicago, and in one day it went from I think it was 389 at like 8:30 the night before to at 10 o'clock the next day 409. So was I
Whew.
guess a 20-cent jump. I mean that's just that is unheard of. How can it even jump? I was looking at averages in Oklahoma and it took 2 weeks for it to jump 20 cents. It took a day. Like
You know,
that is
I'm just
absolutely
curious.
insane.
I'm going to do a quick Google. What was the highest gas price in the
I
US
know
over here?
I know I saw something where they are predicting California's gas to get close to $6. And that is like, oh gosh, like imagine that. You filling up 5.49 a gallon, like I couldn't live. There's no way. I'd have to live in my car.
So the average gas cost was going to peak at about $3.41. That was average. Now I know there was areas in the United States that were, like you said, going up really high, close to $6, $5, and we were having shortages where like people were trying to fill gas cans and stuff at the gas station. And that actually happened when gas prices were really low too. Um, during COVID, what were the numbers? They were like $1.99 and stuff like that for gas, or possibly even
Really
cheaper.
cheap.
Um, and people were just filling can after can because they're like, "Holy crap, we've never seen it this cheap."
Mhm.
So it's always weird when it fluctuates. Um, but I mean, I got a truck, pretty big motor, pretty big gas tank, and it would usually cost me 35, $40 to fill it, topping off the tank until the pump shut itself off. If I do that now, to put things in better perspective, it's like 80 or $90. I mean, we've probably a little bit more than doubled the price of gas that we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a truck, but I don't have a car that by any means is good gas mileage wise. I mean, Camaros
Well,
aren't
no,
doing
you're still
that.
driving a V8.
Yeah, I'm driving a V8 and that thing is like basically a tank on wheels. So, yeah, I mean, I think I have a 16-gallon tank or something around that, 16 or 18. And before it was costing me, I don't know, about $40 to completely fill up if I was on E.
I
Now,
think Justin is the only smart one of the three of us. He's driving a car that's good on gas and that probably doesn't have a huge tank, but if it had a huge tank, it lasts a long time.
It's a
we'll go
four-cylinder,
across the
so
country and back 3 times on his car in on one tank of gas, I think.
Yeah. I
If we're going for distance, me and you are running out, and Justin's driving circles around us.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have a four-cylinder. Not only that, I mean, I'm an at-home student. I don't go anywhere. Well, I do go to Chicago, so it's like. But anyway, in terms of like me having to really, have a lot of gas usage and gas mileage. I mean, even in my field, let's say I started tomorrow, which is people. There's gonna be a lot of fun announcements. Hopefully next season, about stuff that I'll be doing. But in terms of voice acting, you don't really have to go anywhere nowadays. Now I could sit from home and just work like now.
Hmm. Yeah, and speaking of working from home, that is kind of one of the cool things or the nice things about how things have shifted a little bit since COVID. And I recently found out that I'm going to get to permanently work from home 2 days a week. So that kind of helps a little bit with the gas prices trying
Oh
to kill
yeah.
us. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say that this kind of shifted a lot of things in the workplace now, where a lot of companies are looking at how they are developing their workplace, and how often people need to be at home. And one thing that I'm currently learning about, because I'm taking an organizational behavior class, and one of the things we were sort of discussing was this idea that they're realizing that people's mental health has been a lot more upscaled when they are working from home. Believe it or not, despite the pandemic really affecting a lot of people in terms of mental health wise, with having to be quarantined and the fear of like COVID and all that stuff. Uh, in terms of like the workplace environment, people have been a lot happier from home and working from home, and both morale and you know for certain jobs, that is, and working in terms of like their productivity has been kind of upscaled from working with home. So this has kind of like opened up a new environment for people to for businesses to like figure out how they're going to go about the workplace, so to speak. So you working from home now permanently is one of those results that, to be honest, I think is kind of a positive from the pandemic happening, is that now it's opened up businesses and forced businesses to sort of innovate and look at their
Well,
structure of how
for
they
a
go
long
about
time,
the
as
workplace.
businesses, we were using, they were going by old school rules. Back in the day, you had to go to work, everyone went and filled up the office. So, one of the best benefits we're having now is we're realizing the capability of all the technology we have. What you have on an iPad now is 10 times more than what you had on your desktop computer 5 years ago that was filling up the office. So it's just technology like that that we realize that, okay, a company doesn't have to pay to run an office building or use this much electricity to run the office building. Because face it, everyone's houses put together probably use less energy than the office building that they all worked at because that never shut down. All of the lights were on all of the time. The internet was
Mm.
going full blast, TVs, computers, everything going full blast. Where now everyone's at home, they use one computer, none of the lights are on except the room that they're working in, all that kind of thing. So energy consumption's lower, people are happier, people are spending less, all that. There's so much that goes into play with that it's not just working at home, it's a whole different way of how am I using my resources. Are we doing better for the planet because we're using less energy? Are we happier to be closer to home, closer to family? There's a whole lot that goes into it than just the simple fact of working at home versus in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's also a really good retention tool. Um, like people are going to be more inclined to work for somebody if they're like for me, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the days I'm supposed to go into our office. However, I my situation is also kind of flexible where it's like, say I have a doctor's appointment or something on a Monday, I can go ahead and schedule myself to where instead of working Tuesday from home, I just work Monday from home, and then I go in Tuesday. It's like there's more flexibility, and I think that really the main roadblock before businesses of getting kind of into this more, I guess, our generation way of thinking is that they had to let go of the reins. They didn't have like full control. They no longer feel like they have to see everything you're doing because it was like at the end of the day it was a trust issue. I mean, sure, these supervisors know you. They don't really they know the work you, and it's hard to trust somebody that you don't know in a lot of situations, and I think this could you could dive deeper into other things too, but it's really became like they weren't willing to try it because they didn't feel like they needed to trust you, whereas now the pandemic and this gas stuff going on, it's kind of shown like people that you know what you can trust people to do their jobs without having to be like eagle eyes over them or feel like if they're at the office that means they're working, because if you think about it, like for example my office is just a big building full of offices. Uh, most of them are separate offices, so there's only one person in them. I have a door on that office. I can shut that door, close that blind. You have no idea if I'm working or if I could be sitting in there watching YouTube. I could be sitting in there on my phone the whole day. Like, you don't really know if, like, just because I'm in the office doesn't mean that I'm actually working. And I
Well,
think it was
and
just
that's
like,
why we have like productivity numbers and everything too. You know, some people you hear them complain at their job, and well, I'm one of them to an extent because the manager, we call our managers at our office spreadsheet readers, not managers, because all they see is you did this many jobs today in this much time, and your performance numbers, your quality numbers are here, here, and here, but you need to do better here. You know, that's another one of the technology things are where everywhere you go, you're going to have this person that wants the paycheck, but always tries to do the least possible to get the paycheck. I think in a way
mhm,
that's everyone's goal because obviously the bigger your paycheck is, you're either working really hard or you got one of those jobs that pays really well because you got a special skill. But everyone wants
mhm,
more money for doing less. So, and you have the performance numbers now where, okay, I'm not looking at you at a camera. I'm not face to face with you. Do this, do this, do this, and then I'm going to watch you do it to make sure you get it done. Where now we have technology where I can tell, oh, you didn't make the amount of calls you needed to make today, or you didn't get this done today, or you worked a hell of a lot harder this day than you did the next day because your productivity level on Monday was 92%, and then for some reason you drop down to 60%, 70%. So we can
mhm.
work from home and we can still make sure everything's getting done because of that type of technology that we have. And you know, for the people that want to work, 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 and we don't really have to watch them, great. But then we also have the people that want to do as least as possible. But oh, I did all my work today. I still deserve the same paycheck, even though I sat in the corner and tried to not work today, because unfortunately we know those exist. But we have all the tech, all the technology and all the tracking and everything. So working from home is a whole lot easier. That was one of everyone's saying, "Oh, we have COVID, but now we have to send everyone home and hope the jobs get done."
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
everything
And
still
it's
happens.
also, yeah, everything still happened. And it's also, I think that for me personally, I'm more inclined to work later hours because I'm home. Because, like, environment of working at home, it's just such a different experience. Like it's your space. Like sure, I have my own office at work, but like it's it's super
Well,
professional. Like there's nothing.
let's not even think about the office. Let's not think about anything. Just strictly the time. I went to work at 9. I get to leave work at 5.
Mhm.
Okay? You're working at home. Here's 5 o'clock. I'm done with my stuff. I walk down the stairs to the living room. Hey, family. Hey, whatever I want to do. There's so much to gain from that. Whereas a lot of people are like, 5 o'clock needs to come. It needs to come. I need to get out here. I need to get out here. They're so focused on that. And then they're
Mhm.
like, now I got to drive 45 minutes to get home.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's a whole
exactly.
different environment. It's a whole different environment.
Yeah, and people are more like I'm more willing to during the pandemic, for example, people like couldn't get out. And like if you let your like getting out is going to your office, like that freaking sucks. Like that would not be fun because like you're going to your office, sitting in a room, and I think it's just kind of taught everybody from like all different levels of work, like up the hierarchy to your CEOs and stuff, and age brackets, you know, from our age in our 20s up to these 65, 70, 75-year-old people that like we can get the same amount of work done and we can cut like because businesses are all about cutting costs. A lot of these businesses can cut a lot of costs. Now, I still think that some of these businesses probably should have at least some type of office where like hey, there's something I've got like today my power's out or my electricity, like my internet's out, I can go into the office and still work without like losing a whole day's worth of work. Um, I
Well,
don't
there's
think we
that, and
need
you
these
still have to have an
massive
official
buildings.
place of business too. Because let's say I'm
Yeah,
the owner of the business, right? I still have to have a place to keep my equipment, my paperwork, to run my servers. You have to have the place to do that. But as before where we thought we needed an office to have space for, let's use simple numbers, 100 workers. Well, now we can have an office space where we only need space for, let's say, 20 workers because they can all still connect to the server. They can all still do their job. We can have the official like storage rooms and everything. But, maybe in the office, we only need a couple admin people to keep it running where everyone else can still be remote and still do the same job. And that
yeah.
right there
And
is a
I'm
huge saving for a business.
yeah. And I mean there's some jobs, you know, obviously a doctor cannot work from home. Nurses can't work from home. Since I work in healthcare, there's a lot of fields that unfortunately cannot work from home. But I think the fact that there's these other jobs like being an accountant, being a voice actor, where you can work at home, it's gonna cut a lot of costs for a lot of businesses, even like hospitals. Your admin don't have to be at the office. Some of these schools, you know, um, I mean, I think schools were already broaching into the internet space for learning. I mean, obviously like uploading documents, but like uh, online classes have already been a thing. I think that it's just emphasized more that you know because I feel like a lot of these schools, like my school, for example, you couldn't really get any science classes online. It was like the ed, and that was it. Whereas now, you know, these higher level classes are starting to offer an online option, which is going to help stay-at-home parents, um, people who uh, maybe live further away from the university, but it's the university they want to go to. Like, there's a bunch of positives that come out of it. Now, there's also going to be some negatives. The internet can also give you a lot of answers to stuff, and teachers can't necessarily like 100% know whether the person is like taking the test themselves or not. And there's plenty of ways I think people could coach into people finding tons of different ways to cheat. I mean, it's like
I
video
mean,
games, tons of
that
ways to
falls
cheat.
into the same category as the people at work, the ones that want to do the least amount of work possible
Yes,
and still get
exactly.
paid. It's the same thing in school,
Yeah. And
but I think we have more positives than negatives because let's,
oh, I agree.
I'm glad you brought up like online classes and stuff like that because the first thing I thought of is, COVID, and actually they're still doing it, is all of a sudden there'd be a case in the class and they'd have to send everyone home, but then they started doing it online. Well, now it comes to the point where, a school day is they have a fog delay or they have a snow day because they couldn't run the buses, whether it was one of those two problems. Well, the students can still get their homework, they can still get their lesson. And as before, when they call the snow day, all the kids are excited because, oh, we get the day off, we don't have to go to school. But in my school, and I'm sure it's like this in most, is that gets a day added to the end of the year, so now you had to go to school another day anyway, whereas now it's like, oh, we can't run the buses, we can't get the students into school. Well, now they can do a virtual day and they can
Yeah.
still get the lessons done and they don't have to run the extra day. So I feel like that's
Mhm.
another big benefit as well for school in not just professional college or wherever, but elementary school even.
Now, with that
Yeah.
said, one point that I want to make is that a point that we're kind of glossing over still. Like, there's definitely a lot of benefits, right? And I'm all for the at home workplace. I think it's a good concept. I think that it can help, dependent on the job, right? I, s- but with that said, now there's a level of being at home and feeling and taking your work home with you, right? Now we're literally having home and work in the same place. It's nice, sure, to an extent, but at what point are you having this line drawn, right? Of your having your personal life and your work life. I mean, there's like a such thing
Now,
as life slash work life. Please let me finish my point. But there is something that is a life slash workplace balance, and
well, that's what I was gonna say. Um, because like Austin was saying, he finds it where it's easier for him to work later some days. And that's nice, but I feel like it's something that can easily get taken advantage of. Or, your
Mhm.
boss could be like, well, you're at home, you don't have to drive. You can finish this project or whatever tonight. Well, you still have hours and you still working overtime. Yeah, you don't have to drive home, but w- I understand the point you're trying to make is there has to be separation, and sometimes separation is a new struggle that we've seen lately. Whereas, let's say these simple numbers again, your normal job is your 9 to 5, but now your boss expects you to work till 6, or your teacher is giving you more homework because it's online, you're there anyway, you can do it. Well, you have to have personal time. It doesn't matter if it's work, school, whatever. If you don't have personal time, if you're only focusing on one thing, you know, you you're going to forget work, work, work. Okay, now my family's neglected, or too much family time. Now I neglected my job and I'm behind on my job. If you don't find that fine balance and you don't really treat it as how it needs to be separated, you know, you don't want to go home and for the people that are already at home, let's just say I walked out of my office and I walked downstairs, but I didn't leave work. You have that feeling. So there's definitely struggles like that for sure. But I feel like that's more of a personal thing that you have to set aside for yourself. You have to tell yourself, are we done working? Okay, then we really need to put down work. There's some days where you got to tell your boss, like, the workday ends at 5. I can't keep working till 7 for you.
yeah. So
Yeah. Well,
aside from that, like one thing that because also we had, um, the point that Austin kind of was giving in terms of like, yeah, like even, or I believe it was you, Tyler. Regardless, it came up in conversation that, oh yeah, like, we could even do school from home and all this stuff. I think a lot of that is fantastic, and I do think that, cool, it is nice to work from home, but at some point too, I believe it is important for companies and even children to have a in-school setting or at work setting, simply because not only just the separation of both the individual and the
I
workplace,
100%
but
agree.
also it is important to a socialization aspect.
That's
Currently,
what I was
with
just about to get to,
yeah,
because I
so
100% agree. Like, let's put this into elementary school. There is kids um that they go to a group of kids and they want to be quiet. They don't want to interact. That's really, really important. Probably just as important as learning history, math, English, reading, whatever. It's just as important to learn how to interact with other people. Because let's say you're really, really smart. You can do really, really good math. You're on the ball with everything, but you can't hold a general conversation with me because of socially awkwardness. That's a big problem. So, younger kids, they need to go to the school, they need to interact with others, they need to have all that in there. When you're sitting at home and, oh, school's over, let's just play video games, you're still on it. You didn't change anything. And
yeah,
then same
so
thing with work. With work, when you're older, there's an emotional sort of border. You're in a different mindset at work than you are at home. If you don't change your mindset like you would your physical position, that will take a toll on you.
So yeah, and also where I was getting at too is that not is just from a social aspect. It teaches a lot of social skills. But one of the big part and factor that people overlook, and now I'll be finished with my point once this, and we got to go to break. But um, once it's not just the social aspect of things, it's also the sort of mental aspect of things, and something that a lot of people overlook is that it's very important for the human to be socially interacting. It definitely it boosts a lot of morale, and not just morale, but it boosts your mental status. Your how do you feel? Because believe it or not, despite if you're a loner or not, or you're introvert or not, a lot of times we need social interaction. We need to interact with a human being and not just a computer. Computers are nice and it's fantastic to see, and again, technology is beautiful and wonderful, but we always have to keep in mind and keep things in perspective. And I think that you have to have these certain environments to not just, again, keep these work life balances sort of separate and being able to, relax. And aside
Yeah.
from that emotional aspect, you have the mental aspect as well that is very important to look over. But with that said, we do have to go to break because it is 33 minutes in. Um, and we haven't talked about our sponsors, so I hope you guys enjoyed this word from our sponsors. There's a lot more to discuss that we're gonna get into. So yeah, be prepared. Enjoy high octane gaming with the Grim Reaper live on Twitch. Watch the Reaper as he plays through a plethora of game titles such as Call of Duty Warzone, Call of Duty Zombies, Valorant, Minecraft, and more. Join him as he competes against high competition in COD Warzone tournaments for large cash prizes. You can catch the Grim Reaper streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, 6 to 11 p.m. CDT. Just search twitch.tv/The Grim Reaper. Link in the bio. Looking for a fun new way to eat popcorn? Then I have the place for you. Kelly's Kernels has 68 flavors to choose from. Try out their delicious birthday cake flavor or their cheesy cheddar flavor. If you want to go classic, the Chicago style flavor is for you. Either way, you have a wide variety of flavors to choose from. But that's not all. They offer other treats such as shaved ice, cotton candy, and mini melts. Be sure to enjoy the dine-in experience and bring the whole family. So come on down to Kelly's Kernels, where it's always poppin'. Located at 13226 Lincoln Plaza Way, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Link in the bio. And we're back from that word from our sponsors. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. We got a lot of fun topics for you guys, and I'm glad we're back in it. We're back on track. We're getting things going, okay? So, yeah, and again, thank you to both our sponsors, Kelly's Kernels and the Grim Reaper. You guys have been absolutely fantastic for this year. We're gonna be rethinking a lot of things too for next season. So I hope you guys stay tuned and in terms of things, and we'll always update you guys and be as transparent as we feel the need to. um, but with that said, I mean, there's been a lot going on. We talked about gas prices and we talked about how kind of crazy that has been, and part of the reason is kind of unfortunate with things that have been happening, and that is with this unfortunate war in the Ukraine. It is something that is very, we sympathize for if you are from Ukraine or even near Ukraine in terms of like Europe, and you're seeing things go down. I can imagine you're biting you're biting the nails on your fingers because there's just a lot happening, a lot of working and moving parts, so to speak. So we sympathize with those of you who are being stricken by the war. My heart goes out to you, and I hope everything is well, and I hope people are healthy. I think war in general is never good. So we, again, our heart goes out to you. But yeah, so I mean, Tyler, you're telling me that you kind of ran into sort of your information and like newsworthy stuff from an
So,
unusual source.
right. You know, I knew the war well, I knew things were gonna start happening. I knew there was a possibility for war. You've seen on Facebook that there's plans being made or stuff going on, and you see on the news, but all of a sudden I was scrolling through TikTok and you run across this video and it's people that are in their normal day-to-day life, and then all of a sudden a missile flies overhead and it's crashing into another building. That was from a person in Ukraine letting everyone on TikTok know that it looks like the war officially started because bombs are being dropped and missiles are being shot over. You don't see things that are that graphic or that detailed. You see stuff on the news, but they're usually like little stories. They don't show much. They just tell you a little bit of what's going on. You have the live feeds out of Ukraine. You have the TikToks that are people are just randomly posting, and like I said, just so graphic. And then it kind of made me realize, like, the gas prices, the shortages, just normal day-to-day news, not even just with the war going on, but normal day-to-day news. TikTok is so fast for people to get the information out lately that I feel like I get more newsworthy, important kind of information that comes from this TikTok app than any other platform that I've been on lately.
Yeah, I agree. I know for me, I see tons and tons of TikToks about the war going on right now. And then like just other news in general, but right now, of course, the war is the big thing. Like
Right. I
I
mean,
don't know if you've seen it, but the all the stuff about the fighter pilot for Ukraine that they've now dubbed the Ghost of Kiev, or however you say it. Um, Constant updates about him, constant updates about the whereabouts or at least the safety of the Ukrainian president. You know, little bitty funny things that are happening over there. Like I saw one a couple days ago. Some farmers stole a Russian tank. Like just a bunch of like interesting stuff. It like really gives you an inside view into what's really happening over there. Obviously, there's probably a lot of easy ways to spread false information, but it's also like it's just very interesting. Like it makes me think of what would we have seen, like what little funny things that the news isn't going to report happens over there, like Russia, a tank being stolen by a bunch of farmers, or sadder topics like you just said, he's just out having a normal day, and then all of a sudden bombs start dropping. I've
it-
it's just very interesting,
it's
and
a
it's
different type of news. Like,
mhm,
let's say you turn on your news channel, Fox 32, whatever your local channel is. They might mention the war. They might talk about what's going on, or if we sent troops over, or if there's progress in the war. They talk about that stuff. None of what you see on the news is what the people there are actually experiencing. When you see a TikTok from someone's phone and they just pan across the subway station that's filled with people taking cover underground, or that you see the missile flying through the air, or there was one TikTok that I seen where someone was filming outside their window and you seen a jet fly and start shooting, and you heard the whatever they were shooting, the missiles or bombs, whatever, you heard them crashing close to where this person was filming, and then their kids screaming and them ducking under the wall and taking cover because they literally just got shot by a jet flying overhead. You don't see that stuff on news. It brings it to a whole different realization for everyone to see what's actually happening.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's also like your news. Say you have your 9 o'clock news. It's not like a thing where you're sitting there and you sit there for an hour and it's like you're just getting news updates. It's I'm scrolling through TikTok. 1 minute I'm seeing a cat being harassed by a dog. The next minute I'm seeing a bomb being dropped on or something to do with the war. And then the next video is something else. Like I'm sure for a lot of people, it's probably they might be annoyed by the fact that they're like. I mean, I think that the main purpose for TikTok was entertainment for people to kind of express themselves. And so I can understand why people would dislike the fact that 1 minute you're seeing something from a creator you really like, the next minute you're seeing something from Fox News' TikTok, and then the next one is back to normal. Like that switch is probably tough for some people, but I think for
And that was the
most
craziest
people,
thing
it's
for me. Because when I first got TikTok, I scrolled through it when I was bored. I watched some people do something stupid, something funny, and that was basically what TikTok was. Then you started to see more kind of ads for different companies, like newer companies, new products, and I was like, oh, that's a cool way to advertise. And then you started seeing, um, like a bunch of technology updates. Companies were starting to do their own TikToking. My friend, or not my friend, my cousin rather, Josh, he does streaming. So he uses TikTok to advertise for his stream. There's all these interesting ways to use it and beneficial ways to use it. Now it's more than just opening the app to see something stupid. It's rather your advertising, your entertainment. And now
Mhm.
I'm looking at it as a news outlet because the information's on there so fast and it's not filtered.
Yeah. Well, and it's customizable too. And what I was to finish the point I was making before is I think for some people it probably is annoying, but I think for the majority of people it keeps people informed because I'm of the opinion I feel like the younger generation, my generation included, a lot of them, because the thing has been unplugging, nobody's watching cable anymore. I feel like a
Mhm.
lot of people are disconnected from the news, and I think that this is an excellent way to get news out there. And it works really well. Like you don't have as many ads. I don't know about you guys, but I hate ads. So you don't have as many ads with TikTok, or at least you if you
Well,
see it,
there's
you can quickly
actually a
scroll
lot of
past it.
right. There's actually a lot of ads, but they don't force you to watch them. It's just
No,
you scroll, you scroll.
you can just scroll past it because like with YouTube now, there's tons of ads. It's like a ridiculous amount of ads. TikTok hopefully doesn't get to the point where it's like that, where I'm forced to watch something. But I also think that the ads on there that I have seen are far more creative than like the ads you see on TV or the ads you see on YouTube. Like I don't know what it is, but there's something about it. They're creative. They're also
I
they're
think it's
using
the
the
format
creators
of
on
how they,
TikTok.
I think it's the format of how they design how the app works. Because you open a YouTube video, you searched for something, you clicked on what you expect to watch, and then you're forced to watch 5 seconds or a 15-second ad. That's how YouTube
Hmm.
works. Well, TikTok, you're scrolling through, you first
You don't
open
know
the app,
what's
first
coming next.
right, and all you know is you're gonna scroll up until you see something interesting. You open the app, the first thing you see is an ad. You don't have to watch it, you can just scroll right to the first video. You see the
Hmm.
first video, you scroll through three videos. The one thing I always see on TikTok is some weird shower head that has this cool looking fan and it spins as the water goes through
Yes.
it.
And it's
That
got
is
like the
an ad.
pebbles inside of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an ad, but there's so many different versions of it. And you find yourself stopping and actually watching the ad because it looked interesting and you weren't forced to watch it before you watched the content you searched for. So I feel
Yeah,
like how
exactly.
TikTok like implemented the ads was so clever because
Hmm.
no one else does it that way. And sometimes you don't even realize it's an ad until you see the link end pop up.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think that the fact that TikTok is not, there is no formula that you can follow to figure out what's coming next. I mean, I guess if you really looked at it, you probably could, but none of us are going to do that. So it works to their advantage, putting ads and then the news. And it's also nice because, like, with YouTube, an ad comes up, you can say you don't want to see that ad again. But they still usually like there's been plenty of ads that I've been like, I don't want to see this ad again, and you click like that button on it. It still comes up anyways. So like it's nice that you can like customize your view of things. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to see the news on there, you can just hold on the video and say, I don't want to see anything from this user anymore. You can customize that. And also it'll remove those things from your naturally based on if you sit there and watch the video or if you don't. So I think it's really interesting, and I think it's a good way to reach send news to younger generation, especially with the unplugging, and then
Yeah.
also the shorter attention span. Like it's a really good way. That being said, there are some drawbacks to it, I think, and some of those drawbacks will fall on the parents to look at and like uh, watching what their kids are seeing, like putting parental controls into their TikTok. I don't know how all that works since I'm an
I
adult and I
can't
don't
tell
need
you
that
how
stuff.
many times I've disliked it or how many times I've said I didn't want to see the content anymore. I have my own kid. She's only 3. She's not old. I live with my girlfriend. I don't
Hmm.
care to see all the other ones shaking their boobs or shaking their butt, dancing around. But one thing I see way too much on TikTok is I swear these people are, I don't even know if they're 14, 15 years old, but they're doing that sort of stuff. And it's like, no, I can't even finish. It's not even right for me to see this. I have to dislike it. And that's the part of the app where they tell you it's so
Yeah.
random and it's you see anything. Well, you're seeing a little too much sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I think that the formula is not perfect. I think it's the closest thing we've gotten to something like that's more customizable.
I
There's
will
still
say,
kinks in it.
I will say this is the only app that I've ever used that doesn't annoy me or piss me off while I'm using it. Like YouTube.
Yeah.
I searched for this. I want to watch this. I don't care about your ad. There's this new Google ad, and it's like um something about being safe on the internet, but it's like a
Hmm.
drag queen person.
Yeah.
I don't care about it. It doesn't matter how many times I dislike it, but sometimes it forces me to watch the entire ad. TikTok? I don't care about that ad swipe.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't. You're not forced to watch anything you don't want to watch, and it's really really nice. But uh, another drawback to it is like we you mentioned a little bit, and I was mentioning it is like kids. My concern is like there's kids using this app, and it is kind of thankfully nothing gets too graphic, and that's one of the nice things. So there's not anything too graphic and crazy being shown about the war or anything else. You're not seeing people getting killed or anything like that, thank goodness. Um, so I think there's definitely a line that TikTok won't cross, and I am thankful for that. But I think for younger kids, there is like if obviously like in anything, it falls on the parents to make sure that the platform is safe for them, blocking those things and such. Um, uh, I mean, there are some drawbacks to it in the fact that you could get fake news. I've seen a few things, just like Facebook is rampant with it, but TikTok has some of it
Well, there's a lot
where
of fake products. There's a lot of fake news.
products, fake news, and one of
And
the things that I've seen is like it's easy to edit TikToks, and so like with the Ghost of Kiev, there was a lot of people like maybe the things they weren't saying or weren't false news. Like whenever he first or she first jumped into the limelight for becoming the first modern day ace, uh, people were making videos of it talking about like he was first modern day or she was first modern day ace. They were like taking a video, Battlefield 5 or something, and like making it look like real because graphics are pretty good. So you just a little bit more editing and you can make it look pretty real.
oh yeah, you
I
take
think that that kind of stuff is definitely a little scary, but I think for the most part, I don't see too much of it. Like if I go on Facebook or Instagram, I see tons of fake news stuff. So TikTok
if
is I
you
don't
know
know
what
if
to
it's
expect, you can kind of spot that. But for
I
a
think it to an
general
extent, yes.
younger or uneducated,
Mm,
you're thinking about a 5 second video and you're just kind of scrolling.
yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that'll be like, "Whoa, really?" And it'll just be like you said, a fake video from a video game that was like altered a
I
little bit or something like
I
that.
also think that people understand like with Facebook, I think people take a lot of it to like to its word, and I think at least for me, a lot of people I know I've talked to about this stuff a little bit, friends. I'll see something news wise on TikTok and I'll be like, that's interesting. I wonder if this is real. I'll go and look it up. And I don't think people do that on
Yeah, I feel like if it's
Facebook
less of
because
a
they
problem
think
on
it's,
TikTok because it's more of like the app was kind of just um it was made for people to express themselves and people to play jokes.
mhm.
So just because of the environment on the platform, I feel like it's less prone to that, but obviously it's still going to be a thing.
It's still going to happen, but I think. it's not as big of a deal yet. I mean, it could become a bigger deal. So far, it seems like it's not too bad fake news wise. It's mainly just people putting a video together, maybe fake, to tell you like something that's actually happened. Which, if that's the case, uh, as long as somebody reads, understands, like it'll be fine. But, and even still, like with a lot of the fake videos I've seen, it's nothing harmful. It's not
Yeah, it wasn't
like that video of the quote unquote fighter pilot isn't harmful because the main point of the information is to let you know, hey, this guy's a modern day ace. He's doing a really good job or whatever, however you view it. He's shot down a lot of airplanes. But that's the main goal of it. It doesn't matter how he did it. Like that's not the point of it. So the video is in the background just for you to like give you a visual look at what that could look like because for some people they're like if it just showed up with words on the screen like and there was like flashing like or a white background like it's not going to it's the same impression as putting a little video together, putting it behind in the background while you pop up text explaining what's going on. I don't think most of it's not hurtful false information. It's just trying to throw something together to give you some real news. Oh yeah, I mean I think it's I don't know if Justin, you haven't gotten to give your opinion very much on this. So I don't know what you view on this, but I'm kind of curious to hear what you think.
So, in terms of like the podcast or podcast, sorry. So in terms of TikTok, it's something I don't really dabble in. I don't have a TikTok. It's something that the podcast deals with, right? Like we're not really the biggest in terms of social media ourselves, so it's the reason why, right? We're not as involved into our social media for our platforms, right? So for me personally, I've never been a big fan of like social media and stuff like that. So getting into TikTok, I kind of missed the trend of that. What I do end up running into any TikTok related things is because it's somehow made its way onto Instagram, and I'm seeing some like adorable, cute picture of or like not picture, I mean like a video of a dog or a cat, or because like I right now my current obsession is animal videos. It just relaxes me. And to see like an adorable otter patting its stomach, it's so cute. But in terms of like using it as a reliable news source, now this is something that can become very scary because like as we know, like Facebook right now, and even back then, it has its checkered past where, I mean, what you even had like at one point like Al Qaeda and like terrorists posting on Facebook that where Facebook finally got in trouble. I think it was like before like the Supreme Court and stuff like that, and they're like, "Yo, you need to take this content down and not allow terrorists to be on your platform because that's insane." So, in that regard, like with TikTok, hopefully it doesn't go towards that, and I hope that they are monitoring certain things, in terms of that, because it could lead to some scary stuff with like in Facebook where people are just saying things, and like especially like old people, bro, like they just believe anything that's being said, or will get into arguments with uh people over an opinion or something like that. And to see TikTok go too much down, quote unquote, like this sort of news uh, situation where it's just becoming a lot about topical news, it's kind of scary because then it's going to ruin the platform. I like TikTok being its sort of fun environment for what I've seen it, right? There's like, again, I run into also some funny videos aside from like animal videos on Instagram that I find absolutely hilarious that kind of take people back to the Vine days, right, so to speak, where people were obsessed with Vine. To be honest, I didn't like Vine at all. Like, I didn't care for it whatsoever. TikTok, I think, is a little more interesting than Vine because it's even longer formatted videos than what Vine was. Um, and I do have to admit, it's kind of crazy because I think TikTok originally they were known as Musically, right? And
Yep.
they were that company that was, and their sort of target audience was just dances. So like where Tyler's coming from, where like they have these overtly and like sexualized dances of like these teens, like not wearing form fitting clothing and not wearing the proper undergarments where things are extra jiggly. Okay, so
Oh my God,
we're
what a way to explain it.
it's
What a
yeah.
way to explain it.
Hopefully everybody gets that saying this in a comedic standpoint. It's an over exaggeration on purpose. Okay, don't kill
Best
me.
explanation I've heard yet of TikTok videos. Just gonna tell you that right now.
So, originally that was its weird intent. Now, something that I hope TikTok does do, and I agree with Tyler in this, they need to regulate, the people on there because, yeah, I agree with Tyler. If I hop on TikTok and I'm seeing some 15-year-old shaking or rubbing, like, I don't want to see that. Let me tell you something because, first off, that's wrong. Because given everybody's age, and second off, like how I don't know, like how aren't they monitoring that sort of content for these girls? Like, right, you got like people like I believe like Addison Ray or something like that. People who've gotten TikTok famous or whatever the heck that dance and stuff like that. And sometimes they're kind of like these sexualized dances, and it's just like how is TikTok sort of I wonder what their controls are in terms of like watching out for people who kind of are overly more predatorial, like, right, like how are they watching that? I know that they're combating harassment and stuff like that fairly well, but how are they combating this those people that are highly perverted and in a horrible sense, right? So it's just like
Yeah.
I'm curious on how that regulation goes. And again, I don't know too much, so I can't really speak on it. But for a platform to be kind of boosted originally from, almost underage girls doing dancing and stuff like that, I that kind of sucks. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. But where TikTok is going now, where meme territory, genuinely good content, and I have kept up with some really weird trends that have happened on TikTok that was very just emotionally insensitive. That it was just like these kids trying to be creative and hopping on a trend, and some of the stuff is just absolutely wild. Um, I would give examples and stuff like that, but I just rather not at this point. But yeah, it's kind of it's insane where TikTok has gone and where is it going. But to again sort of give my final thoughts in terms of using it as a news platform, I hope it doesn't go that down that road because essentially I feel like it's gonna ruin the app because it's a fun app,
Mhm.
right? Is it cool that it's keeping people informed, and especially the younger audience? Yes. Is it could it be used for something scary and almost find its way to like sort of propaganda and in cause for these crazy like social political insane things to happen? Yes, because that's kind of what was happening with Facebook. Like things were being skewed. There was even talks of like, right, and not to get like too crazy political and and stuff like this, but like where Russia was using purposely propaganda to cause the American people to have conversations that were always negative and stuff like that, and they found that there were these probes, so to speak, of accounts that were purposefully being malicious in the way that they were uh, talking about certain newsworthy stuff. So it's kind of crazy how that stuff can happen, and I would hate to see again TikTok go down that route. But yeah, so those
Um,
are my concluding thoughts. We are kind of running a little close to time. I don't know if you guys have any closing arguments or not arguments, but like thoughts on the subject. Um, but yeah.
um, I think you raised some good points. I agree. I hope that they don't. I don't want my TikTok feed to be 20 straight videos of news. Like that's definitely not what I want. I think that at least my own personal For You page or whatever they call it, my feed, I get a good ratio. Now some people's might be different. But mine's not filled with it. It's like maybe one out of every 20 videos. I might get a two back to back, and then I may not get another one for like 50 or 60 videos. Um, I do the sexualization of young girls primarily is obviously bad. I also think that our perspective maybe is part of the problem. Like people in general's like some of these kids are just doing dances and it's just so happens to like look somewhat sexual, I guess. And so maybe the real problem could be the definition of sexualization. Um,
I
this would be like
understand
my
that.
real progressive look on it, I guess. But hold on, let me finish what I'm trying to say first.
Yep.
I also think though that there are some problems with it, and some of the things that TikTok has done to limit it, like they just recently announced that there's like a certain the people in your video have to be a certain age, otherwise your videos will not be on the main feed. It will only show up to people who subscribe to you. So that's one thing that is kind of nice for like because there are some people that like use their kids for views, and I think that that's a bad thing. Now there are also people who there's people who want to see that kind of content where it's like there's a family on TikTok. I don't remember their names, but it's like this man, it's mainly the guy, and it's like his three young kids, and it's just like talking about things that happen throughout the day. It's nothing in any way, shape, or form sexualizing or anything because these kids are like 5 and under, I think. They're not being sexualized or anything like that. It's just like things parents go through in life, and that's kind of cool. Um, I do think that there are some things that are a little questionable. I think the main thing that was really really bad was that the Charlie D'Amelio girl. She's like 14 or 15 when she blew up on the app. Sexualization of her was pretty bad. I I feel like maybe we're starting to get over that to an extent. I think it still happens, but I think that it's starting to not be as big of a deal as it was before. I think that in general, my overall perspective, I think maybe that the our opinion of sexualization, like sexualization in dances, maybe needs to change because at the end of the day, most of these kids are just dancing. They're not trying to sexualize themselves, and I think that that's also a uh, something that people who are getting this content need to understand, and that's going to take time. I
I
think that.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
think that the majority of them are trying to sexualize themselves. I don't think that's the goal, but it's just the fact, maybe this 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old is just dancing because you see a bunch of people that are of age and they're doing stuff, for there's countless amounts of people on the app to where all you have to do is copy and paste their at whatever and it takes you straight to their Twitter. And
Mhm.
some of it's like straight porn. So,
Yes, there's porn stars is a big thing on that app now. So you
and
see a lot
and
of
I feel
content
like
from them.
more of the parent side of things, or maybe there should be better parent controls, or maybe you just shouldn't allow your 12, 13, whatever on TikTok. I don't know. But it's just they are doing it because they've seen someone else do it. I guarantee it that's 90% of it. They might not fully understand why the other person's doing it. It just looked fun to them, so now they posted their video doing it. But it should be filtered better to where maybe those videos, hey, you're not of age. We're gonna take down your video.
Yeah, so I definitely do want to specify. It's like I was saying more or less the people that are being a little more racy in terms of uh, how they are going about, um, dancing. Like I said, when they're just not wearing the proper garments purposefully, and I mean, it's I think that again it's the intent, right, the context of how that person's acting, because I mean I'm not going to play everybody like a fool. I don't think that they're that dumb to not realize kind of what they're doing type of thing. And again,
Mhm.
there are some TikTok is not all just sort of like sexualized dances, and I don't want that to just come off as like, yeah, I'm just saying that but I will say that there are people that do like legit dances on there, and choreograph stuff. Like I said, again, Charlie D'Amelio and stuff like that. Those people, it's not all like these sort of sexual dances, but sometimes you notice when they're, doing stuff purposefully, right, to arouse and be racy in terms of how
Yeah.
they're acting for their viewers. And I mean, I get it to a certain extent. My only concern is just the age. That's all. Again, I feel like
Yeah.
people can do what they
And that's
want,
what it is for
just
me, the
age.
age too.
Yeah.
And I will say the filtering does work. Because I
Yeah.
have
Yes.
put on there that I don't want to see certain accounts. I don't want to see certain content. I've done that and I see much less of it.
I
So I
will.
am
Mhm.
happy that the filtering does work.
Yeah, I
But
will admit that I did also hear that in terms of like TikTok's algorithms and how they do suggestions, it's pretty great. So,
yeah.
that's good to hear, and that's fantastic
So when I skip
with the
over a
app.
video really quick or I dislike it or say I don't want to see it anymore, they do actually take note in that,
But
which is
Yeah,
great.
I agree. I think they do a really good job of filtering what you want to see and what you don't want to see, and all the more information they get, the better they're going to get at it.
with that said, TikTok, we might see you soon, okay? No, genuinely, we because the one thing that we have to admit that I do love about TikTok is that its community is so explosive, and there's so many people there, and there's so much room for new people to set sail, so to speak, on that app and get noticed, and people to see new things. So we are definitely looking into this idea of essentially putting certain clips of the podcast or something on TikTok and seeing where that goes. But that's a future idea when we get things a little bit more into wraps and stuff like that. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast episode, because we are getting close. We're actually running long on time. But I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you have had so far a good new year. Again, I know there's a lot going on in the world. So I would say to you guys, make sure, keep your chin up, and make sure that you're sort of getting the help you need in terms of your mental health, and keeping well and being well. And I hope you guys please check out our sponsors again. You're looking to relax. You got the Grim Reaper over on Twitch streaming about, I believe, 3 days a week. His everything is going to be in the description down below. And if you're looking to listen to some music, I know he's not our sponsor, but he's absolutely fantastic. Adam Stone as well. Again, friend of the show, and has done the music of the show, is again in the description down below. And if you're looking for some animation stuff, we have Mr. B himself, Byron, down below. Fantastic artists. Check them out. Again, everything and for everybody we work with in the description down below. And let's not forget, last but not least, our sponsor, Kelly's Kernels. If you guys are out in the Northwest Indiana area and you're looking to, I don't know, have a snack and just have a good time, go over to Kelly's Kernels. They have all the 64, I believe, delicious flavors for you guys of popcorn, as well as extra tasty treats like Dippin' Dots and other things. So if I were you guys, please check them out. If you're looking to visit them and knowing the location, again, they too have a description. But as always,